Let's see. Okie doke. Here we go. Should be coming up. We should be going live. And of course, it's 26th delay, so I never know exactly when it's begun. So I'm just going to pretend that we are. Oh, I think we're on Facebook Live right
we
now.
Are there.
Yeah, and look at the time.
Is this 105? This is
yes, I'm trying. So, okay, so this is night number 105, and we are going to say, isn't that crazy? And we are going to say thanks to the helpers. And if you're wondering who the crazy man next to us is, that's Jeff Harry.
105. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Well done. That is so impressive. As I was telling you earlier, I can't do jumping jacks 3 days in a row, and you did this 100 so
105 is kind of nuts. It's kind of nuts. It's an accomplishment, and it's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. But here we are.
Is it 7 o'clock? It's 7. It's time to say, yay! Thank you, helpers! Yay, helpers! Thank you to the doctors and the nurses and the nurse practitioners and the RNs. I don't know the difference really. And then the physician assistants and the social workers and the therapists and the psychologists, psychiatrists, and the
grocery workers.
Yes, who work in the hospital, but yes, the grocery workers. And then the, yes, grocery people. And then in terms of medical, who am I missing? I'm missing the surgeons. Oh, right. And the like heart specialists and the brain surgeons and the speech pathologists and the
admin assistants. My aunt is one of them that actually greets people when they first come in.
Yes, so important. Thank you to your aunt. Super thank you to your aunt.
Sorry,
also
we're not
to
on the balcony to applaud there.
Okay, and so to like the palliative care and to the people who do all sorts of things, the anesthesiologists, to the, I mean, there's so many people. So thank you everyone in hospitals. Oh, the EMTs, the ambulance drivers, you guys all rock. The people who help go, yay, as you get to leave the hospital. I love those people. They're like, yay.
Janitors.
Yes, the janitors, all the people who clean up. There's people who come into your hospital room and clean up like on the hour. Those people have quite the job. People in clinics, people in doctor's offices, dentists, orthopedists, orthodont. There's so many people who do medical stuff. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Educators, right? Educators, we've got teachers and childcare workers and principals and admin people and State Superintendent of Public Education, Tony Thurman. Oh, yeah. Very nicely. Ah! And then all the people who work in public education. I just say thank you, thank you, thank you. If you're in a charter school, thank you too. And if you are in private schools and you're educating, thank you too. I mean, everyone in education. And this time period of being an educator.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, well, you already know. It is crazy, and thank you for all you've done. I do hope you get a little break in there before you have to dig in and figure out what the heck it looks like in the next month or two when you start up again. Are you all virtual? Are you virtual and in person? Are you, how do you do it safely? How do you keep yourself safe and the students and the, thank you. Restaurant workers. Servers. Restaurant people, people who do deliveries, right? Postal workers, FedEx.
Instacart, yeah,
all those people, right? Servers. And then, oh my gosh, if you were like the wait staff in one of these restaurants that are doing like patio or serving people, so it's all good as long as you wear a mask. Oh, except when you're eating and chatting and spitting all over the place. And then your wait staff is like, so please be careful. If you are a wait staff, please wear like 39 masks, whatever you have to do. Like, I'm just thinking about you. And if you were that person who's taking advantage of this restaurant stuff, if a wait staff person comes up to you or anyone else, could you just put your damn fork down, put a mask on?
Hi, Natasha.
Thank you.
Right? I mean, just have respect. Even if you're like, but I'm in the middle of a bite, whatever. Put the mask on, protect the people around you. So I also want to say, I know I'm getting on my soapbox and yes, this is Jeff. Yay, Jeff. But we're going to be, this way. I can't tell where you are. Okay, so Jeff is our special guest, but I'm still, thank you, and now I'm on a soapbox. The mask thing.
Over there. Jeff's over there. That's Jeff right there.
Anyway, wait, you're distracting me. Okay, so the
Hi,
mask thing.
Shelley.
Hi, all right, mask. I'm losing my track. So if the whole mask thing, I saw again today. People, oh my, really? So cute. I can't compete with that. I'm gonna try though. All these people are talking about the mask thing and saying, well, we kind of know that they don't really keep you safe. Hold up for a second. This is about, I wear a mask so that you don't get my spittoon at your face and all my vapory glunk, right?
Natasha says
That's
hello.
what it's about. Hello, Natasha. Probably to Jeffrey. So I'm just saying that you're protecting others. So
Maybe.
it's a piece of respect. It's like respect. And I have an assumption that if someone's going bleh out here, having this, it's a little bit better than not, right? And so every single one of those graphs they show, you got a mask, I got a mask, I got a really good chance of going home safely. So that's what I'd say. Oh, so mask makers, thank you. Thank you, mask makers. Thank you. Mask wearers, bless you. Thank you. That is great. That is great. All of those of you who are going into a workplace, must go into a workplace, please stay safe. Mask. Hopefully the people around you are wearing masks. Please just keep yourself as safe as you can, right? We're thinking about you. I know I didn't mention everybody, but please, if you guys can extend the thank yous to all the people who deserve to be thanked, please do that. I think one of the things I was talking to Jeff about a little earlier was that, okay, so this is night number 105. I know we're not literally on a balcony at the moment, but doing these Facebook Live thingamajiggies at 7 o'clock Pacific time, every night for 105 nights. I keep wondering, like, so why are we still doing it? It is so important for me, selfishly, to say thank you. I need to be grateful, and I am grateful. And if I share it out loud, it feels really good, actually. So I want you, if it's your gig, to extend that, right? For you to say thank you as well to the people around you that are doing things that are keeping you safe and also taking care of themselves, right? Those are good things. Yay. Thank you. Whatever, veterinarians, thank you. So Jeff Harry, we have a special guest. So this is Eliza the dog, this is Beezy, this is me, and this is Jeff Harry is in the house. Jeff, I think we've known each other for like 12-ish.
Yeah, 2008.
2000?
Obama campaign.
2007, right? No, yeah, 2008. Yeah.
But I met her in 2008.
That's right. That's right. We met in 2008 in the land of Obama stuff. And so
Kathleen says thank you.
So long ago. My gosh.
So long ago, many lives ago.
It was like a different
and we were talking about, and so Jeff is like, brings so much light to the world, and humor and fun and love and creativity, but also is
Obama Camp 2007. So says Natasha.
Right, but I think that's where I met you, Natasha. 07.
Natasha Middleton, one of the most amazing organizers I know.
Oh my gosh, completely. Thank you. We've been called out, Jeff. Okay, so what I was about to say is that humor and fun and all of that, and Jeff is one of the most real people I've ever met. And so again, I don't know how many years ago it was that the two of us, we took lasted almost a year, where we did like this coaching together, right? Like, how do we support each other in our lives, in our work lives, in our who we want to be on the planet? And why I think we chose each other was like, you can tell me the truth, right? Like, I can be real with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just trust Jeff deeply.
Oh, that's nice. I love that.
So I wanted to have a conversation with you, Jeff. And, there's so many topics we could talk about. We could talk about fun and Legos and your goofy TikTok. And we could talk about, shall I say it, the elephant in the room, right? which I don't even know if it's an elephant anymore. It is the room. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's enough time to talk about pandemics and whatever, we live it. But there's so many ways it gets titled now. Like, what's the best way? Social unrest, the protests, all the racism, white privilege. We're going through a lot right now. And I just thought we should talk about that.
Yeah.
And
Let's
you're
dive
just the
in.
one.
You
Okay,
wanna-
thanks.
Let's go. Yeah, I mean, part of the reason why I even refer to as the elephant, I like to refer to the elephant, is I just wrote this article called "The Elephant That Poops," right? Which I set up as a children's tale, and the whole tale is about how someone brings an elephant to my house, and then that elephant starts pooping in my house.
Mhm.
And then I'm like, yo, your elephant's pooping in my house. And the person's like, what elephant? I don't know what you're talking about. And then we ensue to have this whole conversation where they constantly are like, I don't know what you're talking about. This seems ridiculous. You're being very rude to these elephants that I don't even know who you're referring to. And then while this is happening, more elephants that they brought more elephants that came in, and then they're just pooping everywhere. And I'm like, dude, you need to deal with this. And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. You're raising your voice really loud. So I feel like we need to leave. And then they all get up to leave. And as they leave, they're like, you know what? Just to remind you, it kind of smells like poop in this place. So you really should look into that at some point. So it's like they are willing to only recognize stuff, but not own any of it. And that is the part that I was like, come on, man. I'm having too many of these conversations where people want to complain, but then they don't want to own any part of it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think we were talking also about, and I've been thinking a lot about, like, online there's like 3 million videos, and then you should watch these movies, and you should read this and see this, and don't do this, but do this, and I think that I'm seeing like a lot of Black people like, stop, just stop. You know what? Do your own work. We're tired. And then a lot of white people getting very defensive. Not everyone, obviously. Like,
Right.
Some people are honestly really trying to, like, what does it mean to be anti-racist? But a lot we're seeing, like, what was that couple we just saw with the guns on their lawn?
Dude, I
What was
made a
that? That was the goofiest thing I've ever seen in my life.
whole video about that. Yeah. Yeah, and it was funny. I made a TikTok video just about the anti-racist checklist, and it was like these two people that were literally comparing themselves to be like, well, who's outdoing who? Oh, well, I went to a protest. Oh, well, I what is it? I donated to the Black Lives Matters movement. Oh, well, I just started. I watched 13. Oh, well, I set up a book club. I have a book club now. And then someone was like, oh, well, I'm doing a webinar on anti-racism. And then my response was like, well, I'm dating a Black guy. And it was just like this like constant, where you feel like, have I done enough? Is enough done? Like, can I get back to what I was doing earlier? Because this movement stuff is exhausting. And it's just like, dude, the Montgomery bus boycott was like 368 days. That was one thing. That was just
one thing
for one bus line in one small city in America, just to change that one thing.
Right.
So it's like, if people are getting fatigue, it's just like, really?
Well, right. Well, I mean, I
Wow.
think, and if you even just take that example a step further, you think of that one bus line, that one city, and that many days, and you think of what people had to do for that many days. When people,
Yeah.
that's how they got to work.
Mhm.
How'd they get to work? Did they
Mhm.
walk all night long? The answer is yes, right? Like, it is huge what people did, and we're just asking people, pick up a wow. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and so so I also think, right, like, how do we know that, like,
Christine.
I mean, I guess for me, it's staying, what does being in it for the long haul mean? And I feel like, yes, I grew up in an interracial family, we're different races and we are, all the stuff, right? And racism bad and whatever. And then I look now, and the newest thing for me is, I mean, I have always known that if you're in a racist society, you are, what is the word, like bathed in racism. Like you were
You're
birthed.
marinated. You're
I don't mean to be
marinated.
too like you are marinated in racism, right? So it's part of me. And
Yeah.
so that doesn't feel comfortable. I'm going to say it. It feels yucky that I know that how when I wake up in the morning and when I do the world, there are times where like I have different responses that I have to check, right? Like what if that is cool? What if that's, oh wait, what is that? Like, and we have to be aware, what are the biases that we were just born in, learned, and don't even realize? And I feel like I'm pretty aware. And then I realize every day where I'm not, like, or I don't, right?
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
I need help. I'm just saying to everybody out there, I need help. If you notice something that I missed, because I'm trying now way more than I ever have. That's what this time period has done for me. It's making me stop action and acknowledge the racism in me. And a big piece of it, right? So I'm going to try to put it into words, and then you can help me, hopefully, Deb. Is when I talk about racism or I talk about bad racism, whatever, I look about like, oh, here's what Black people have to go through, or here's what it's like to be of color. And I look at my hand like I'm doing Crazy Eddie. It's all out here.
Yeah.
As opposed to,
yeah.
What about the white problem?
Yeah.
Because here's where it is. Instead of like labeling it this way, what about going this way and saying, my whiteness gives me X. My whiteness causes Y. Because of my race, and I have a race. I'm not just like no race unless I'm another race, right? It's not like, like every single thing in the media and whatever. It's always been like, there's a Black man walking in the street. It's never, it's either a man walking down the street, like if he's white, he's just a man. But if he's of any other, if he's Asian or Black or, right, he's labeled with that race. But otherwise, if you're white, you just don't even get labeled. So it's time that we start labeling. And so I need to label myself and my experience. And I think for me, that's a step forward, so then I can acknowledge, oh, that was a way easier thing for me than it might have been for somebody else who didn't have this.
Yeah, there's this interesting, I think it's from one of MLK's kids that said this at a speech, and they were saying how like people start off and they're like, well, I want to get rid of a racism in America. And then they're like, well, maybe I want to get racism in my state. Okay, well, maybe I want to get rid of it in my city. Okay, maybe that's a little too ambitious. Let me get rid of it in like my community, all the way down to my neighborhood, all the way down to my family. And then it's like, and it's just like, all those are hard, but the hardest is that. And I was talking to my friend Angie Cole about this, because we were dissecting the term white lady, which was a fascinating term, by the way, but she was talking about how there is, or at least from her perspective and the white women that she spends a lot of time working with, where perfectionism is such a really rooted thing that's always constantly been told to her and many of her friends, that to challenge yourself, and also that you have to be perfect, but that also you are a good person, that you are definitely a good person, and you're, like, it's just that you are. So then to be able to embrace the fact that you could be a good person and also be racist just does not compute. That you could actually have all these, embedded racist tendencies that you also supported institutionalized racism, and you've also taken actions that have actually kept people from color from being able to come up. and you've done all that, and you still have the identity of a good white person, like that's really hard to come to grips with, because you don't think those both can exist at the same time. So I think people are right now like struggling. This is what she communicated to me, is struggling with this identity of like, how do I hold both at the same time, you know?
Right.
And then what I find, and this was mentioned by another anti-racist educator, this guy that runs Overcoming Racism, I think, .org, and he was saying every time he would speak to a white person, what he found was they didn't want to talk to him as much as they didn't want to listen to him. They wanted him to know they weren't racist. Like that was the main goal of their conversation. And then they wanted him to wave some magic wand, like, you are blessed. You are not part of the problem. And it's just
Right.
like, no, dude.
Yeah.
Like, we're bathed in it. We're all in it.
Yeah.
Like, even I have my own institutionalized race inside of me, myself, even as a person of color. And that's really hard to like own that, man. And then know that you're like, quote unquote, part of the problem, that you're part of the bad guy at the same time that you have certain values. And
Right.
that's the real struggle.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's I guess maybe those are the first steps though, right? Is to own it, accept it, learn it again, push it away, learn it again, like be in that struggle. And I think like with anything else, though, like we are all very complicated people, right? We are all made up of a lot of stuff: good, bad, ugly, scary, happy, sad, angry. We are all these things. And guess what? Racism is one of them. And so, but keeping it just there is still out here.
Mm-hmm.
And so just understanding and trying to, little by little, what are those biases? And so that when you go at the world and you are talking to other people and you're going to a store and you go to school and you, whatever in your life, you could start to see, you know, when we talk about looking through rose-colored glasses, what's blocking, like, what am I doing? And not just how I see things, but how I behave, or assumptions, or what do I take advantage of without even knowing that that's what I'm doing, that might be in place of what someone else could be doing, right?
Yeah.
So
and that's hard, man, because imagine if like you're like, well, what are you telling me, that I didn't get into the college because I didn't work hard? I didn't get the job that I got promoted, that wasn't me. You know, it's like, it's interesting how there's constantly the conversation, and this is like a debate that people really should be aware of all the time, where it should be a conversation about collectivism, all of us together. But what happens is it becomes an individualism conversation, where you like, are you attacking me? Are you saying that I didn't work hard? Are you saying that I didn't? And it's like, I, and it's just like, it's not about you right now. It's not about you, right? It's not even about me. It's not like, you know, but it's about like, this system is messed up. We've always known. Like, I love what Jane Elliott does, the anti-racism educator. Do you remember Jane Elliott?
no.
Oh, okay, she's one of the best anti-racist.
Writing her down.
Like this older white woman. She's like in her 70s. Back in the 50s, she ran this really controversial workshop with a bunch of third graders called
I do know her, yes.
Blue Eyes, Brown Eyes, right? So she
Yes.
did the Blue Eyes, Brown Eyes thing, right? So she continued to do that. But there's this one where she's speaking to a bunch of, I believe it are educators, you know, and she goes, okay, everyone, this is what I want you to do. I want you to think about what's it like to be a Black person in America. And I would like for you to stand up if you would be willing to trade places with a Black person in America right now. And everyone's just sitting there. And then she goes, you didn't understand me. What I'm saying right now is, if you think that you would like to trade places with a Black person because you feel you'd be treated just the same, then please stand up. And of course, no one stands up. And she goes, you've always known about it.
Yeah.
You've always known about it. You just didn't want to talk about it. So why all of a sudden are you willing to tolerate it for them, but you would never tolerate it for you. And that's the conversation that I feel a lot of people are not having, because instead they're like, well, I didn't know it was this bad. You just didn't want to look at it. Kind of like, that an iPhone is built by a bunch of like children, and you hold on to your iPhone, and someone died to make your iPhone, but you don't want to think about it. You're in the Capitol and they're in District 13. You don't want to think about that. You don't want to know how it's made. But and now someone's confronting you on it, and you're like, and it's just like, no, just own it, dude. Just own it. That's all I'm saying. It's just like, we can't have a conversation, you're not going to own it. And I think a lot of people are tiptoeing and being like, those people over there are racist. Trump's supporters are racist. QAnon supporters are racist. It's much easier to be like, everyone else is.
Except for
I'm a good person.
Right. You were right on it.
So I don't know. So I guess what I wonder is, like, this is a conversation, and BZ, let me know if you know this. But if I was a white dude in America in a position of power like a CEO, why would I ever give up my power? Right. What benefit does it have? What selfish benefit does it have for me to give up any of this? Like, it's great right now for me. Like, I'm killing it. So what would be what has to happen for someone to be willing to give that up if it's working out for them right now? If the experiment is working out.
It's funny. One of the things I think of a lot is when I was like coming up in the world and being a trainer and working with people as a consultant and teaching people how to teach a man to fish and he'll live for a lifetime, or that whole thing, right? Well, yes,
I love that.
But listen, if you teach a man to fish, guess what? He's not going to hire me. So, and it's like, it's how we're set up in that way of like, I'm going to kind of teach you to fish, but I'm going to forget to tell you about the bait, or I'm going to or
some webinar in a moment so I can do my upsell.
Right. You might not have to do fish, but I can show you how to get a better fish. So yeah, I think that so when I get overwhelmed, it's for good reason, right? There are so many layers to this, right? There's the systemic racism, and like you can look at, oh, look, in the healthcare industry, education, whoa, in justice system, what justice, like I can go through every category, and it's upsetting and depressing, and it's like, it seems so big, but there's also being able to come back over here and say, well, here's what I can do. And, just like there's so many things online now for us to learn from, and I'll post a few more of them. And even if it is not enough, it's something, right? To even have, the guy doing, and I forget his name, Emmanuel something or other, he's doing the uncomfortable conversation with a Black man. Right. And so it's this guy, and he invites people on. One, he does stuff by himself, then he has special guests. Like, he had Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, Matthew McConaughey, yeah, I saw that.
Which was wacky, but whatever. Point is this: he has people on that will draw in an audience. That's great, and he has uncomfortable conversations. But I think if that's a way and he says, listen, the first step is being able to do this and be able to say it out loud, right? Cool. And listen, I'm all for the first step and the second step. My worry is people like thinking, okay, I'm good. I did the uncomfortable conversation. Let's wrap the fella up. Instead, we're in this for our life. I was going to say for the long haul. I'm just saying it's just for life, because it's been hundreds and hundreds of years. Okay. And, there's some years better than others, but I'm just saying, right, this is a crap little period of time right here, but it's not the only bunch of crap years. So if we can all be committed, even if it's just toe in the water for some people, but go and eventually know that you're going to put your whole foot in and be hopefully be willing to have conversations that are harder, maybe taking actions that aren't as comfortable, maybe being able to just acknowledge, oh, wow, that was harder for that person than it would have been for me. Or like, just,
Yeah.
even if it takes like the beginning, please be part of the beginning, but then don't stop there, please.
I mean, even the toe in the water, like, I don't knock someone that is like starting a book club on white fragility. Just don't stop there, though. Don't feel like that is going to be your thing where you then talk to all your friends, you feel less guilty, you maybe in the middle stop reading the book and just start talking about, like, regular things, and then you forget that this was even a thing because now it's not in the news, right?
Right.
I mean, it's interesting. I've lived in the Bay Area in Oakland, love it. But I've had to like recently move to the suburbs, and I've gone to these protests in the suburbs, and they're really inspiring, frankly. Like, because they're in the suburbs, dude, of Chicago. And it was just interesting walking down the street, because I remember going to one, where was it? I went to one, it was in Bolingbrook, and it was predominantly Black and Latino. Awesome, dope. They even partly worked with the police so that they could be a peaceful march, right? Not that many people, maybe like 100, 150 people, right? Then I walked in this other one last weekend for, that one was for Juneteenth. Then I walked with this other one that was like in Downers Grove or some white suburb. And it was like maybe 40, 50 people, mostly white kids. But these kids were out there, dude. And they were like, and as they were walking, like, other people would join in.
Mm-hmm.
And I even remember seeing like a little kid coming out with her like Black Lives Matter sign. She's like 4 years old, but she's like, and that was inspiring. And then even having people of color seeing these like 30 to 40 white people marching on their behalf, right, as they're like kind of going to the store or something. And that was really inspiring. And then the part that was super interesting, because like the protest is losing a little momentum, and people are like, all right, we're going to go over to this place where, you kneel for 8 minutes and 46 seconds for George Floyd. And you could tell some people have been doing this for a while, right? They've been doing this at many marches. So it was the same thing. Mm-hmm. And then this person came up that had a BLM with a X crossed out on it. It was just one person. And she just starts filming everybody while everyone is silent. And she's just trying to provoke them. She was just like, you're on the sidewalk. This is illegal. Blue lives matters. All lives matter. Like, she was just, and it was so interesting because it was like, wow, there were 50 and then there was her. And people were like wanting to start with her, and others were like, no, don't. Just like Ken and Karen, where it's just like, don't need to pay attention to them. Don't need to pay attention to them. But it was so interesting because that person actually played a really important role in providing solidarity to the group. She did the exact opposite of what she wanted to do, because like it changed from this amorphous racism to like, it's right here in front of us.
We're seeing it.
One individual. Right. And what are you going to do at this point? What are you going to do about it? Right. Yeah.
You're reminding me too that as when we sort of joke about like, okay, now it's time's up or whatever, I think the more we then think about actual human beings, for me, that's what makes it jarringly present. And so one, yes, in terms of things that happen, but also in deaths and violence. And I mean, not to state the obvious, but we can't stop this work. And I think we have to keep screaming out those names and keep demanding justice, like Breonna Taylor. How many months has that been? No, those cops are not in jail. Not one of them. One lost their job, whatever. That woman was killed while in bed at night, right? She's an EMT, They went into the wrong house, shot him up. And I can't for the life of me picture that happening in a white household. I just can't. I'm trying to get my head around, is it possible? I suppose.
Yeah. And I would even say like names like Amadou Diallo from like New York back in like 2000, like 4, you know? So it's actually like, what was it? The Equal Justice Initiative. That's a great organization, by the way.
Yeah.
But they've only now been tracking, I think since 2014 or 2015, the amount of unarmed people of color that have died.
Right.
Like over 100 every year. That's unarmed.
Right.
Let alone others that are like, you know, whatever the reason might be. But that is crazy that there's that many. And then to think like that comes off in a very slave patrol lynching sort of way of like, we're going to keep you in this area and you can't venture out from this area.
Yeah.
You know, that's the part that I'm like, yo. And then the other part of like, does anyone going to talk about those 6 lynchings that happened like in the last like few weeks? It's like, why is there like just certain things that you're like, this is bothersome. Nobody's talking about this.
Right.
You know, even the Ken and Karen thing, which I really like, I focused on and made a video about. While that was going on, another person died. So it's just like, dude, it's constantly really having to like challenge yourself to be like, what is actually important?
Right.
What do I really care about right now? And is my anger going after the Ken and Karens because that's much easier for me to address than like the stuff that's like here, you know?
Yeah.
Because there's this assumption that, well, once we get Trump out, things will get better. Agreed, it will get better.
But this
still is this. And this was here before him, and he's a manifestation of that. He's a manifestation of us and what we represent. And that's going to be there after he's gone.
That's right. That's right. So we're just strapping in right now and getting more people aboard, right? Like, I think more of us have to be in there doing the work.
Yeah. And then when I think of like, okay, when someone says do the work, or what does it mean to do the work?
Really vague.
Very vague, because I think people are like, oh, but if I was to break it down, I think I kind of see it in like 3 different aspects. There's the part of doing the work, which means actually recognizing your privilege and how you've contributed to the system that we're currently in and how that has benefited you, like owning that. And you can ask that question of yourself if you're white or even if you're a person of color. Like I have a male privilege. I have a privilege as a man that I've definitely taken power away from women without even realizing it, you know, taking up the room, like talking too much, whatever it is, right? So there's that. It's first doing those hard questions and then really asking yourself. And then the second part of like educating yourself, it's not just watching 13 or reading White Fragility or reading How to Be Anti-Racist. You know, I really love what I think it was Kimberly Jones. Did you ever see it? You know, you have like watching her speak, like, the reason why when I reference like educate yourself, it's not just like educate yourself. It's like try to put yourself in that person's shoes and understand the pain,
right?
Just for a little bit, just for like a moment. That like, you know, when Kimberly says you broke the contract, you know, you broke this contract, and then you expect us to continue to abide by these rules. And this is even said in the Great Debaters as well. It's just like, you are lucky we are only asking for equality.
Right. That's right.
So happy that we are not looking for revenge.
Right.
That we are not being violent. The way in which like you're claiming people to be violent. You should be lucky that so to feel that pain. There's even an article written in like 2014 that I think a lot of people should check out that I'm reading right now called the Case for Reparations. It was in the Atlantic back in June of 2014 by Tanise Coates. And it's a really long article, but it's basically mapping out what it was like all the way back from like the story of this one person throughout the 1800s, all the way up until now. And like what that pain and suffering was like. So when it's educating, it's like not just educate so that you have terms so you can argue, but
well, it's not just academic, right?
That's just that's just in your head.
It's in the heart. It's emotional.
Feel this, dude. Like you gotta really feel how uncomfortable it is. You know, it's the way in which I felt when I would read people's history, where you'd be like, oh, is this the America that I'm a part of? You know? And then what was the third part? I think the third part that I would always tell people is like, and then after you've done the recognizing how you've contributed, after you've done where you've actually emphasized, tried to feel it, try to put yourself in someone else's shoes, then actually do it by being the minority. Put yourself in the minority, right? In situations where you're the minority, and just follow someone else's lead. Don't try to take up the whole room. Don't try to be like, well, I should do that. Just be part of the movement as the minority, because you are usually part of the majority, and you should feel what it's like to be in the minority for longer than like an hour, Like I always talk about this guy. I don't even think he knows that I talk about him, but his name's Spencer Wise. And he was the most woke white dude I've ever met in my life. I knew him at Tufts. He went to Ghana, with all these people of color. And they went to the slave barracks where they were, putting people on ships, right? And he watched as like everyone was weeping and he was weeping, to actually see it and be like, this is what America was founded on. And then he had to take it because they had to channel all of their anger towards someone. And he was the only white person there. So he had to just take it. And he did. And it was uncomfortable and it was horrible and it didn't kill him. It wasn't the worst thing that ever happened to him, but that was what he was there partly to do. And he owned it and was like, yes, I am part of the problem. My dad or my grandfather or my great-grandfather wasn't the one that put you on these ships, but I'm still contributing in some way. And he was willing to own that. And they would have hard conversations about that. And he would bring back to Tufts and have those conversations. Like, yo, be more like Spencer Wise. Be more like Spencer.
I love it. Yay! Hey, Jeff, thank you. We could go on for I could go on for hours. Maybe I'll have you back and we'll talk about more stuff too. I really appreciate this conversation. I feel like we've just begun. There's so much to it, but I really appreciate it so much.
Thanks so much.
It's really lovely to have this kind. It's also gotten me like, ooh, I now have more people to read about and learn from, and more to do forever, right? But starting now, right? Thank you a million times over. And for anyone who's still watching along with us in our conversation, thanks for joining us. And I don't know if there was any,
not a lot more than,
I think people are just like, but as I told you, there's a lot of emojis, Jeff. There are a lot of clapping and very supportive emojis. Sometimes you just have to listen, right? It's what you talked about earlier.
There's a lot of listening going on.
A lot of listening, which is awesome. And that's part of the dealio. So thank you all. And please wear your masks.
Yes.
And you got a lot of thanks. You're all so woke.
We're so woke. Yeah.
Jeff is the woke. I'm just waking up. I'm telling you, I'm getting like the glunk out of my eyes. I thought I was all woke, and I'm realizing I got a lot of glunk in my eyes. So I'm having to own up to it. And so, and I hope you join me in doing that because we have a lot to do. So yeah, that's it. Well, I'm back. Beezy's back. Tomorrow night we'll be on an actual balcony. That will be night 106. What?
My parents just wrote something cool.
Oh, wait, we have a comment. A conversation piece. So Bob and Susan,
My parents.
Beezy's parents.
My mom, my dad.
These parents.
I know. It says, this is tough. We're supposed to heal the world. As a Jewish person, this is what I was taught. I'm white. There's so much more to do and learn and listen. We've failed and must begin again to do the work and listen and listen and listen.
I know.
Thank you
That's
so
nice.
much. That's so beautiful, Susan. Thank you. Yes. That's a good one to
end on.
Yeah, it is. That's
It's so sweet and beautiful and right. Thanks again, Jeff. Love you, love you. If you want to hold on, if you want to hold on 1 second, I'm going to say goodbye to Facebook world. Goodbye, Facebook world. And we will see you tomorrow night, 7 o'clock Pacific time,
106.
night 106, UNBA. And please take care of yourselves. Masks, exercise, take care of yourselves. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow night. Bye, everybody in Facebook land. Bye.